Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the payoff.
Well, it's time. It's time. It's Vader time. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. Jeff, how the hell are you doing?
This is
this our first Vader match?
No, we've had him in some before, but we're in.
He was in the Final Four match.
Yep, we had that, and then I'll double check here, but yeah, we're in for a brutal one today. Like that's all I know from what I've read. We're paused right now on Peacock. It says get the ambulance because Jack is going back, and so there was some storyline injury angle here as well too that we'll be talking about as well. And so, but yeah, this is we're about to see some brutal shit here.
Well, I'm excited. Yeah, and I'm excited to cover this one because you hear how brutal it was.
Yep.
And, Bischoff has even said, oh, they went too far and it was too brutal. And dude, I mean, you didn't have a lot of brutal matches in 1993.
Nope.
You had, garbage men and repo men and clowns and narcissists and sumo wrestlers. You didn't have two guys beating the shit out of each other. And I mean, 1993. I mean, this is also ECW's like barely even a thing. It's just, guys beating the shit out of each other in tiny little venues. But I mean, they weren't really even a thing. So what a wild match this must have been in the grand scheme of things.
Well, and we're going to talk about how they came up with the stipulation. We got a lot to talk about, like
good
how this played out, and so this should be an exciting one. So, you always ask me, Tom, but I know this is one you're excited for. So, why, how come you wanted to cover this match?
Just because I've never seen it. I don't know. I didn't see much of Cactus Jack or Vader back then. I've still really haven't seen much of Vader in his prime. So I just want to see a younger, sprier Vader. I want to see an early Mick Foley. I want to see if this match lives up to the hype of how brutal it was supposed to be.
And I think we're about to find that out. And I'm for the same reasons as you. I think that this is, like you said, kind of in their prime of when Vader was just literally just receipts and beating the shit out of people because he could. So, yeah.
Let's get into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
All right. So Halloween Havoc, 1993. We're in NOLA, New Orleans. Lakefront Arena. I don't know who played in the Lakefront Arena or what that purpose of that is. Maybe Jeff will look it up for everyone.
That is the University of New Orleans.
Okay.
The New Orleans Privateers men and women's basketball team. There you go.
Okay. October 24th, 1993. Would have been a fun show to attend. Hang out on Bourbon Street and go watch some wrestling.
There was a Ring of Honor show there, Supercard of Honor 12, the same weekend as WrestleMania 34. So there you go. And the main event of that show was Dalton Castle and Marty Scurll. So there you go.
Wow.
Whatever.
Yeah, WrestleMania in New Orleans would be fun to attend. I wish I would have been at 30, but I want to go to the next one.
I had some buddies that were at that one. So yeah.
Oh, what a great show that was. Bryan Danielson. So interesting show. We start off Ice Train, Charlie Norris, and the Shockmaster defeating Harlem Heat and the Equalizer. This is when Harlem Heat were known as Cole and Kane.
You a big Charlie Norris fan there, Tom?
I like some of his early stuff.
Yeah, right.
So Paul Orndorff and Ricky Steamboat go 18 minutes and it ends in a count out. We were talking about that. I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, but just how AEW really doesn't do the count out DQ thing. I like when there's a finish, and it's okay if you do time limit draw. Speaking of which, the next match, 15. So here's what's interesting. That match went 18 minutes. Okay, there was no title. It was just Paul Orndorff and Ricky Steamboat. They went 18 minutes. It ends in a countout. The next match is Steven Regal and Davey Boy Smith going to a time limit draw, but that match only went 15 minutes. What sense does that make? So why is there a time limit draw in a tag match or in a title match, but not in a regular match? So 15 minutes there. Dustin Rhodes would keep the U.S. Heavyweight Championship by defeating Steve Austin in 14 minutes. Got some long matches on this show. Nasty Boys defeating Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Two Court Scorpio in 14 minutes to win the tag team champions. Side note on Bagwell. Jeff, I don't know if you saw this. He was very outspoken about WWE not paying for his desire to go back to rehab.
I saw that.
And I'm sure there's a really good reason for it because they seem to pay for everyone's rehab. But here was the interesting thing. He said, I want to go to rehab because I want to get a contract with AEW. I don't see AEW signing Bagwell.
Hey man, this is the theme lately has been like, don't meet your heroes.
We're going to talk about that. I actually had that on my list for this match.
Okay. Yeah.
So we are going to talk about that. I've got some things to share on that. I'm going to save it for next week. I have some deep cuts from Meltzer's newsletter. He has some of the worst fucking takes on stuff. And I've got some good ones. I'll probably save them for next week. But they're related to WCW. And the reason I just thought of that is because they involved Sting, who defeated Sid Vicious in a 10-minute singles match. We then get Rick Rude defeating Ric Flair by disqualification in a 20-minute match for the WCW International World Heavyweight Championship. And then the final match here actually wasn't even for a title. It was just a Texas death match, Vader and Cactus Jack. So, dude, what a show. I mean, you just look at the star power on this show. Steamboat, Davey Boy, Regal, Dustin Rhodes, Austin, Nasty, Sting, Sid, Rude, Flair, Vader, Jack. Some pretty good matches. Now, nothing really blew the doors off except for this match. I won't give away the spoilers, but on the stars on this match, wow. And then you had a bunch of stuff in the high 2s, low 3s. But overall, a really fun 3 hours of wrestling, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. Like we're going to talk about, some of the finishes and things like that as we move on here. But
how do we, I want to know how we get to a Texas death match between these two.
Yeah. So let's get into this for a little bit. And so a little bit of the backstory here is, this Halloween Havoc taking place October 24th, 1993, but we need to go back a little bit here. April 6th, 1993. You had Cactus Jack wrestling Vader, actually winning by count out, but just getting his ass kicked throughout it. And so Vader has always been known as just being very stiff. And so to the point where like other wrestlers would not work with him because they just didn't know what was going to happen. But Foley, though, wanting to have this program, have these matches with Vader that we get into here. And so because of how well, how the match ended on April 6th, they had another match on April 24th. And there were two kind of some big spots here of Harley Race was involved in some of these as well, too. And remember, we don't see this anymore. It's been years and years and years, but we're pulling back the padding around the ring. We get it, Gargano and Ciampa and stuff like that and tearing everything apart. But actually power bombing Mick Foley or, Cactus, whatever, onto the exposed concrete floor. We don't get a whole lot of concrete floor anymore. And so, which I get it, but actually truly giving him a concussion. And then he also just had some long-term side effects because of it as well too. And they started playing up this angle of when he was out and injured, it was because he was institutionalized. He escaped. He had amnesia. It was really weird. And so that, it did not go over well of them kind of trying to sell it in this way, like trying to, Foley wanted it to be, it was actually in his book, Have a Nice Day. He wanted it to be a very serious kind of like, hey, I got hurt. But then they really started kind of joking and doing all this other stuff, which just, it just, as he said in his book, it was, they were the brainchild of like the kind of, the not serious kind of institutionalized stuff. They were the brainchild of the WCW executives who regarded a surefire money-making feud as a problem that needed to be solved. And so it's such a funny way to put it when you think about it. Like, that's just how it was. And so, having this match, and then actually, like, this is the spin the wheel, make the deal match. And this is, as you would envision and picture, this is like the spinning wheel that had different match choices on it. And wherever the wheel landed, that was the match you got. And so the wheel was fixed, as you might imagine, but we're going to talk about the history of the wheel too a little bit here. It's giving them a Texas death match. And this is, of course, pretty much the, 10 count, unable to stand. And so pretty much beat the crap out of each other. Now, it was interesting here because they had this Texas death match. They had this rematch from when they had before. Vader was actually the World Heavyweight Championship in WCW at this point, but this was a non-title match. And so interesting how that played out. And so I will give you a little history of the spin the wheel once we're in the match here. So we got something to talk about. But really, just after Cactus being out for a while, you get this rematch in a, I say in the fixed wheel, giving you the Texas death match. That wasn't always the case. We'll talk about that. And leading up to this. So not a ton, but just enough.
Love it. I'm pumped, man. You ready?
Give me that point. Let's do this.
All right. I will point at you when you're ready.
I'm ready, man.
Okay. Halloween Havoc 1993. We're at the 2 hour and 32 minute mark. 2 hours, 32 minutes. Halloween Havoc 93.
Season 5.
Season 5. It's time for the payoff.
Oh, it's time for the payoff.
All right, dude. Here we are. Harley Race accompanying Vader. Dude, I don't know what it was about that combination, but just fucking hated the two of them. I mean, Vader was a great heel. Harley Race was a great heel. It was just so well done. You see AEW doing it now. Arn is great with Cody.
Yep.
Holly's great. Jake was great. I mean, all these guys they're using, it just makes so much sense.
Oh, right out of the gate, here we go.
So Cactus attacking him on the ramp, got the old school WCW ramp way.
Tiny ramp, yeah.
AEW's used it sometimes too. Absolutely love it. These guys are already beating each other up. But I was just saying, dude, I just love the Harley Race thing. I wish we had more of it. Find a way to use some of these legends, man.
You got Vader ripping the mask off already. Here we go. Yep. Okay. So where did Spin the Wheel Make the Deal come from, Tom? The Halloween Havoc before, you may not remember this one. There were 12 match choices on the wheel, and whatever it landed on, of course, that was the stipulation you had got. Well, this was not the first Spin the Wheel match, which I was not aware of. And so
Jake the Snake and Sting the year before.
Jake the Snake and Sting. Do you remember?
I ordered that pay-per-view.
The stipulation being the coal miner's glove match.
Yep.
Now, if you remember, this was pretty much the worst possible choice that you could have gotten, which really it was really just like a glove on a
minor
pole.
One.
Yep. And
yeah,
so
I ordered the pay-per-view and I thought it sucked. And that was like the last time I watched WCW for years.
This was, because I wanted to do my research, I looked this one up. That was a 0.25 stars match. So couldn't even get a fourth of a star. That's all I get. And just a massive chair shot.
And that's not a gimmick chair. That's just an old, like
that is a rusty metal chair.
Yeah.
Yep. And so from Cactus to Vader. Yep. Oof. And that's just the start. Here you go. They have not gotten in the ring yet.
They may not get in the ring.
They're kind of fighting in front of Harley Race at this point.
Hey, let me ask you this. What's your favorite Mick Foley character and run? Like, if you had to give me like a Mick Foley year or a Mick Foley like 6-month run, what would it be that was your favorite?
I'd say Persona for me would definitely be, I think my favorite Mick Foley moment when he was all 3 in the Royal Rumble. But I think as an individual person, I would have to give it to Mankind though. I think that's just like,
which dude, Vader is just punching him in the fucking face, like stiff as hell. Like, pay attention to this.
Yeah.
Jacking him.
Yikes. Yep. Tossing him outside. I would probably say if I had probably that 1996, that would have been the Buried Alive stuff. Really Mankind, you had a little bit of, they did that kind of early period. Yikes. And so that was a big suplex to the outside there.
Jeff, I have the exact same answer. My
Do you?
favorite Mick Foley was Mankind not long after his debut. You had a couple great matches with Taker. You had the Shawn Michaels Mind Game match. Just that 96 heel was my favorite run.
Yep. And that with the Mind Games had the interference there. Yep. And so, yep. That was a long match too. So they're about halfway up probably more than that, about 3/4 way up the ramp. This is the elevated ramp too, for those of you that are just kind of listening to us rant and stuff like that. You got Mankind, just Vader on his back, Cactus Jack just pounding down on him, hitting him. Here comes Harley Race with the chair. Was going to try and hit Cactus, but nope, stopping him. And Harley Race, one punch, gets knocked down, picking up the chair again. Oh, it's gonna be bad. Oh, got the hand up, but yep, hit him with it.
I love the smoke coming from the Halloween Havoc set.
Yeah, a little bit of the set here. There it is, bringing the chair down on his back.
Well, it's nice seeing Vader like a little bit younger and moving around a little bit better. His 96, 97 WWF run, he was just hurt the entire time.
Yeah. Oh, and we fell through the stage. Yep. And yeah, I'm with you. And I don't think people realize, even like I didn't for a long time, like just how like he was like one of like the best on the planet for a while, like in regards to what he was doing over in New Japan, just like some of the work he was doing, like dude was unstoppable. Like, and he was like scary as shit. And like you said, he was stiff as hell too. And so, oh boy, look at that. Look at the blood all over Cactus Jack's face. You can tell too, he doesn't fully have the persona down. He's got like just kind of like a weaved shirt on, and not much else. I get it's early. Oh yeah, he is gushing pretty good. It had to be when they fell through the stage, did a little bit of bleeding there. Yep, because now Vader coming up as well too. That's a great shot of like the tombstone, but Vader climbing up out of it, bleeding as well too.
So you brought up something earlier of the what's the expression? Don't meet your heroes.
Don't meet your heroes. That's what we've been hearing that a lot because of Dark Side of the Ring. Yep.
So let me tell you what's interesting about that. Right? Is we pile on. It's just interesting how, and it's no different in entertainment or sports or anything else. But it's interesting how some guys get a pass and some don't. Mm. And so, Ric Flair, he's the nature boy, and he gets drunk and he runs through hotels naked, and he just kind of gets a pass all these years, and now all of a sudden it's like people are appalled by his behavior. It's like, you knew about this all along. What did you think? Like, what did you expect? Obviously the Ultimate Warrior has plenty of people that are not fans. Hulk Hogan, same thing. But it's interesting. Like, what did you think? Do you think the rest of these guys are choir boys? And then it's like, and then you say, nice elbow drop from Foley off the ramp. That was awesome.
And going for the pin,
so he got the pin, but then there's a 10 count once you have to get back in the ring and there's a 10 count.
Yep.
So it's kind of like a falls count anywhere. They did this at WrestleMania 10 with Savage and
it's an interesting take on it. I'm not opposed to it.
No. So he just pinned them, but then it's the 10 count. So so the don't meet your heroes thing, and then it's like, okay, that now there were people that were drugging women, and then who was it? And then it was, well, who was watching people drug women that didn't directly do it, but didn't do anything to stop it?
Yeah.
And that's like, who watched Flair at the back of the plane and didn't, stop him? So it's just interesting. I'm just, my point to this is you can meet your heroes, but don't think your heroes aren't like every other fucking human being on this planet, which is to say that they have flaws.
Have a realistic expectation. Yeah.
I laugh in politics when it's like, oh, your guy is blah, 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 but like your guy isn't. They're all fucking corrupt. They're all a bunch of shit. Just so when we sit here and go, oh, well, my team doesn't cheat, but your team does. My politician's a really good person. Yours are all bad. Like, come on. All the wrestlers are really good, great people. It just happens there's a couple bad apples in there. Right. Come on. Let's call a spade here. So, and I'm not saying you can't love watching their matches and you can't go and meet them at a meet and greet, but let's not pretend like we know all these people and they're all our friends and we know everything about them. Look, I'm a Hulk Hogan mark. I met him, one of the coolest experiences of my life. I hope to meet him again someday. You know what I know about him? Nothing. I don't know what's in his heart. I don't know how he is as a human being. Frankly, I don't care. He's an entertainer and he entertained me. And I leave it at that. And I leave it at that for all of my favorite athletes. I leave it at that for entertainers. Hey, I like their music. I don't know what they're like as people, and I'm not going to pretend to know, and I'm not going to tell you that I think I know. What's your opinion on all that?
Yeah, I think it's tough because it's where you draw the line. And that's what I know. And what we've talked about. And by the way, that is a non-work table. That is just a table in the back that is like, it's like stripped of everything.
It's like Vader, an old like bingo hall table that
Vader bounced off of it. It didn't break or give at all. Again, it's where you draw the line. And I think that's what it boils down to. And I think, you hear that a lot of times with Hogan, you hear that a lot of times with Warrior and just some of these people of, okay, well, you got to decide, where do you say, okay, this was too much for me. I don't want to associate with this person anymore. Because if you really start digging into that type of stuff, like you would never you could never watch any wrestler. Like, well,
I know.
You can, where do you draw, where do you say, oh, this isn't what I want to be a part of, or, these people are bad people, so I'm going to turn the TV off when I watch their matches. Like, especially like, everybody's got skeletons. Like, it's just what varying degree are you going to accept those skeletons, or, kind of what they are, or things like that. Because if it is something that's egregious enough to you where you're like, I just don't want to be a part of that anymore. And like, part of it's being realistic. I know, like, not too long ago, like, especially after the Warrior dark side, like Dana Warrior caught a lot of shit because like she was like, not a good person necessarily through some of that either. And so, and especially with all these dark sides now, like, man, like even John Cena caught shit after the Chris Kanyon one because of stuff he had said. And so in that episode, like the plane ride episode, like they did a good job on that episode because it was not through the WWE lens. And so we got a whole lot more than we would have ever gotten before. And some people looked way worse than others. And so obviously Ric Flair and kind of what he went through, but then like Rob Van Dam has gotten through pretty unscathed. He's been engaging with people online too. I saw like Gold Dust, Dustin Runnels got off, easy as well too. It looked like it was drunk and, going after Terry type thing, so it's really, there were people on there, and JR, and he accepted fault. But then it was just like, okay. Like, and so why doesn't JR catch more shit for, his?
I think JR should have absolutely caught more shit.
Right. And so like that piece of it, he was on TV.
I told you he was responsible for them. All right. So Vader on the tippy top, moonsault on the Cactus Jack.
1, 2, 3. There's the pin. Okay.
Now what do we do? 10 count?
10 count. Yep.
I mean, everyone's standing.
The arena looks fairly empty. I'm not going to lie. Maybe it's just the setup. I forget if I have something about that in my notes, but it just doesn't look.
7, 6, 5,
so they're counting down.
3, 2, 1. The match continues.
So the match continued.
He didn't move. He was on his knee the whole time. I don't know how that continues, but all right, fine, whatever. I'm just watching.
Maybe because he was already in the ring. I don't know. I don't look. I'm looking at these punches.
You're like a boxer here.
I mean, they're just stiff, man.
Ooh, yep. And now he's
I think maybe they have to get back in the ring for the match to continue, but he pinned him in the ring.
Maybe, yeah. Harley Race with that rusty chair still, like kind of standing on the side. Oh, this is going to end poorly. You got Cactus on Vader's back. Harley Race has the chair laid out on the ramp here. Oh my God.
Oof.
So that was a back body drop with Cactus on Vader's back and all of Vader going down onto Cactus. That is like 400 pounds a man just coming down on you. That had to be painful as hell. Cactus setting up for Vader setting up for the chair shot here. How bad is this going to be? Ooh. He got the block up, but still.
Barely. Man,
so here's a good question for you, Tom. I know we're not watching as much weekly WWE TV.
No, I value my time.
So would you still go to a live WWE show, or would you rather wait and do an AEW show when it comes through your neck of the woods?
I would not go to a WWE Raw or SmackDown here unless something big was going to happen. So I did go to a Raw a few years back, and that was the one where Hogan and Flair were both on it because they were promoting the Saudi match where like both guys were in different corners.
Got it.
So I specifically went for that reason only. But I wouldn't go. AEW, I will go. If they come for a Rampage or a Dynamite, I will probably go to both shows. But anything AEW does here, I will 100% go to. Raw and SmackDown, no. If he pinned them again, but we don't know if it's over or not. So that's my stance on it. AEW, I'd go to anything. I'd love for us to have an AEW pay-per-view here. WWE, I'd probably go to any pay-per-view we had here. I think that's where I'm at. What about you?
So Raw is actually going to be here in my town of Indianapolis, and not too long from now, November 15th. So you figure, 45 days.
Are you
tickets
going?
No, I'm definitely not going. Tickets are currently $45 on the resale market.
Yeah, but even if you got free tickets, it's like it's a Monday night. You're not going to get home till midnight. You got to get parking. It might be really cold out. Like it's like, what are you going to see?
And she doesn't know this yet, but I want to take my girlfriend. Oh, and there's a taser on the back of Mick Foley's leg from Harley Race.
Oh, so the Scott Hall taser wasn't the first one ever.
Yep. And so I really want to take my girlfriend to a show. She doesn't know that yet. She's probably not listening anyway, so it doesn't matter. Thank you for the support, honey. Patrick's
counting.
Yep, he's counting.
There you go.
Vader is one. To end it briefly, I will take her to an AEW show long before I take her to a WWE show.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. That's it. We got a funky finish. All right.
Let's get into the aftermath.
Oh, it's time for the aftermath.
All right. What'd you think?
Yeah, it could have been more. Like it just, there's a DDT to Harley Race. Like, I feel like they just like they were at like, like the volume was at 6-7 and they just couldn't get it to 9-10. And so doesn't mean it wasn't brutal as hell. And maybe not to say I wanted it to be more brutal necessarily, but just wasn't as much there as for me, wasn't as much there as I would have hoped for.
Yeah. It's just kind of a dumb finish. Like if you're going to beat the shit out of each other, like why wouldn't you just have Foley take some? I mean, I guess they want to continue the storyline or something, but I don't know. That was a terrible finish, but I mean, a fun match.
Yeah. So how did this play out here again? You got the stun gun on Cactus, taking him out. And so at the time, like Tony Schiavone and Jesse Ventura were on commentary and didn't really say much because of the fact that like how brutal it was. Like they didn't even know how brutal it was going to be. And so it also caused WCW to not book these guys again on a show or pay-per-view because of how like they were marketing themselves as family friendly at the time. And then you had this match, which is not family friendly. So this is where then this is a match that we will have to cover at some point here. And so there was the March 16th, 1994, how this kind of played out later, the WCW European tour where you had Foley and Vader really just in Germany. And so Foley, though, kind of tied up in the ropes, did not realize like the story is that they were like too tight and like too taut and things like that. So Foley couldn't really free himself from the ring or from the ropes. When he finally did get free, he had either cut his ear, split his ear. It was just really bad. And, Foley and Vader kind of going back and forth with his, like, really Foley's ear just kind of hanging there. And then Vader ripped his ear off. So as the quote here says, because I really just have to, you really just have to read it. The two men continued wrestling as the referee picked up the ear and gave it to the ring announcer. Vader,
reading it like it's like a normal.
Vader claimed for years after that the ear had come off during the botched hangman maneuver. However, in a WWE Network video, Vader admits that after seeing the footage that he indeed removed Foley's ear. So, just okay, sure. and here's even better. And I'm going to read this. So, and so again, that was in March 1994. So then Slamboree in 1994, which would have been May. Again here, Cactus Jack and Kevin Sullivan were scheduled to win the tag team titles at Slamboree in 1994. Foley had to choose between reattaching his ear or wrestling in the pay-per-view and winning the titles. Foley chose to wrestle and won his only championship in WCW. So, Tom, if you had the choice, are you going for the belt or are you going to urgent care?
What do you think? Oh, God.
Like just crazy.
It just takes a different type of mindset in person to do this line of work. If you're going to be like that.
Yeah. And so Bischoff, Foley and Bischoff then kind of behind the scenes stuff, like Foley knew he wasn't going to get pushed. So decided to not renew his contract at this point. And so his last match was actually another one that we should cover was Chicago Street Fight. You had Cactus Jack with Max Payne against the Nasty Boys. And so you had that. Now, again, just crazy. This is why Dark Side will never run out of material. So originally, Vader was supposed to face Sid Vicious at Starrcade. And so, but this was, and I had forgotten about this until I had read about it again. But again, on the one of the England trips, you had this is the Sid Vicious stabbing Arn Anderson and then having to find a replacement because Sid Vicious had stabbed Arn Anderson. As the story goes, words were exchanged between Sid Vicious and Arn Anderson, and a few beers were thrown after Anderson overheard Sid insulting his friend Ric Flair. And so again, like for those of you that don't know the story, and so both guys, so going to his room and Sid hit him with like a chair leg and then stabbed him. The quote I saw here, I have no idea how much is, but it says both were rushed to the hospital as Anderson suffered scissor stab wounds to the chest and stomach. Vicious stabbed Anderson 20 times while being stabbed 4 times himself. So I get why you need someone new. So at that point, instead of Vader taking on Sid, you had Vader taking on Ric Flair, which because oddly that was a hometown match. And so again, this was a career, Flair putting on his career on the line on this one. And so, yeah, it ended up, winning that match with his career on the line, actually winning the title from Vader. It turned into one of Flair's third world heavyweight championship run. And so, a lot of craziness, a lot of weirdness. Jumping right into the reviews on this one, Cactus was number 53 on the PWI in 1993. Vader was number 2.
Wow.
And a lot of the, I don't know who one was. I'll have to look real quick, but, a lot of this booked around, or, talking about the booking. And so PW Torch review, the virtual consensus is the wrestling
93, I'll look it up, but 93 PWI, my guess is Bret Hart.
Yeah. So the virtual consensus is the wrestling was good and the booking was bad. Sunday night, New Orleans, WC presented a roster of mostly competent to excellent talent that gave above averages performance, only to have each match end with a controversial quote screw job finish, thus damaging the enjoyment. Literally 7 of the 8 matches ended without clear pinfalls. 3 years worth of non-clean finishes for some wrestling promotions. A brutally satisfying match, but an unsatisfying ending. 4 stars. One of the writers said on this one, and there was a quote here that I really liked: Vader versus Jack proved to be another one of their brutally savage contests that are closer in spirit to the Roman Coliseum than to professional wrestling. I enjoyed every minute of it, at least every minute up until the last minute, where another in a seemingly endless series of lame finishes took place, marring an otherwise good bout. Now, if you remember, Dusty Rhodes was the booker at this time. And so the quote here, and remember, this Halloween Havoc. So best costume this Halloween, no contest. It's Dusty Rhodes masquerading as a wrestling booker, which rough. So that was PW Torch. They had 4 stars on that one. And then
let me just share the PWI 500
sure.
real quick.
Yeah.
So I was right. Brett was 1. Sean was 3. The top 10, 9 Americans, and then Bret Hart, the Canadian. Of the 10, 4 are no longer with us: Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude, Yokozuna, and Vader.
Okay.
So there you go. Sean was 3, Sting was 4, Yoko was 5, Flair 6, Luger, Rude, Henning, and then Scott Steiner was number 10.
Whew. Okay. Future NXT 2.0 Braun Breaker. But anyways, all right. The Observer newsletter on this one: the Vader Cactus Jack main event exemplified what is beginning to turn into a dangerous trend in this business. Not disturbing to fans because many love matches such as this. It's disturbing because the element of risk and injury is being flirted with much too closely when matches get as stiff and legitimately brutal as this and other recent matches have turned out to be. I was actually planning on writing this before the Havoc show, with the main emphasis being on the plight of All Japan Women's Wrestling promotion in 1993 and the daredevil tactics of Sabu. But Jack and Vader then put on a match that was one of the year's best, and in many ways defines the problem. If you didn't buy this pay-per-view, you really owe it to yourself to go get a tape and see this match. 4 3/4 stars. So you got 4 3/4 and 4 stars. I'll go first on this one, Tom. I know you normally go, because I'm actually going to, I hate doing this, but I'm actually going to give it a 6.
That's my number.
Fuck me. Okay. And so I think that, again, at the time, maybe it's just we're so desensitized, and normally I do a good job of putting myself in the time period of when this match was happening and kind of what, but in regards to they did a hidden blade job under the stage. There were a couple chair shots, but nothing where they got their hands up on all of them. So yeah, I get it. It's stiff and that's what we're going for. But I don't think that, and at the same time, I think that while it was a harsh match, it wasn't like in retrospect and like looking it through the lens of 2021, I don't know about that. And so, when they will never get, we'll never know what could have been if these guys were really let to go off the leash on this one. Not that we necessarily want to, but I think at the same time, like this one just, it was good to watch, but again, even we had one shitty finish and it wasn't great. Like it wasn't sold well to me. It just didn't even really look all that good. And then here you are. So yeah, I don't know, but so yeah, I'm going with a 6. And you have a 6 as well?
I do. I just, lousy finish, weird rules. Didn't really understand that. Like, a standing 10 count would have made more sense. Anytime you do the pin thing, it's like you have to suspend reality because, okay, in a normal match, if these two are wrestling and 4 minutes in, Cactus hits an elbow drop off the ramp, he's not getting a 3 count. The match isn't over. So why is it? It's the same with Survivor Series. Why are there all these pins when that doesn't normally happen in a match? So I didn't like that stip. If it would have just been beat the shit out of them, get back in the ring, and they had 10 seconds to get back in or 10 seconds to stand up, that would have made more sense. Didn't like that. Didn't like the finish. It was brutal, but it was also kind of sloppy. Like there were just some botches and stuff in there that were a little The blade jobs didn't really make sense. They go down, they come back up bloody. Well, why would they be bloody? They didn't hit each other. Like that didn't make sense. So again, I just feel bad because I feel like they both busted their ass. And I mean, some of the stuff that both of them did was awesome, but it's just like, it didn't fit as a main event. And I'm disappointed. I expected it to be better.
And I think that's why both you and I lie on this one. Doesn't mean it wasn't brutal as shit. Like, don't get me wrong, don't get you wrong. But and more would have been, what's more to that? Like more blood, but like there wasn't a ton of wrestling. Like there wasn't there was some, but like compared to what we've seen the last 2 weeks, like this just wasn't on the same level. And maybe we're just looking at it through that lens, but I don't think we are. Okay.
That's all we got, man.
It's not all we have. We haven't reminded everyone, of our favorite segment always, like manscaped.com, pay off 20% off, free shipping, everything in the store, everything that's out there. Make sure to be checking it out. Like Tom and I use it. We always tell you, we don't bullshit you. We're always all about this different stuff. There's all kinds of good stuff out there. And so too, I don't know if you saw as well too, Tom, recently, but they have also now come out with, is it the new body wash? I have not gotten that yet.
I am not aware of this. So what do you know about it?
We're going to pull it up right now because I'm on the website. Easy. Remember that manscaped.com website. This is the body wash daily shower gel. And so 16-ounce bottle. And so cheaper stuff, hey, you'd spend more for worse shit on this one, $12.99. Like use
I'll give that a shot.
Why wouldn't you? It's all good stuff. 30-day money back guarantee. It's the good stuff, guys. Nice bottle. It's one of the foaming bottles too. And so
what's a foaming bottle? Like when foam?
It's not one of the, it's not one of the foaming bottles. Sorry. And so, but it is like, it's one of the pump bottles and stuff like that. Like I actually hate the flip top bottles. And so I like the pump bottles. It keeps the shower clean, stuff like that, especially you conserve a little bit more. You get your poof. You put 2 pumps in there, you're ready to go with the shower. Just like I do with my girlfriend. 2 pumps, ready to go. Like, let's take it home. So, no, I'm kidding. It's a few more than that. But anyway, so yes, manscaped.com, pay off 20% off, free shipping, everything in the store, including their brand new body wash. Make sure to check it out.
When you say body wash, you're referring to the crop cleanser?
No, it is a full body wash, like brand new product. It's numbered. If you're on the website, you go to products, and then it's the second one on the list. It says body wash. Yep.
Oh, there you go. Brand new. Okay. So there is a new crop cleanser.
Look at this. You and I are learning this in the moment. There's new stuff. Yep.
And there's also crop gel, which is a saving gel, crop exfoliator,
which they've had that, what they've done? They've repackaged them in bigger bottles so that you are getting same stuff. Because remember, we have the little bottles. We got the good stuff now. And so we're encouraging everybody to go on their website, check all this stuff out. It's absolutely worth your time.
All right, I'm definitely getting the body wash, and I'll let you know because I don't like my body wash.
I'm just using some random one from the grocery,
Yeah, I don't know. Same with my shampoo. I've been trying to buy different stuff, and nothing's doing it. So if I'd love to find a go-to body wash.
I would try and find something else to buy on this website, but I already own all this stuff. So you know what? That's okay. So again, payoff 20 manscaped.com.
All right. Good episode. Disappointing, but it's still fun to go and watch. It's a 12-minute match. So
yep,
go
absolutely.
watch the main event of Halloween Havoc 93. So that's it. We got a good one next week. We got a good couple ones coming up. I'm looking forward to them. So as always, you know where to find us at Payoff Pod everywhere. If you have nothing nice to say on Twitter, say nothing at all.
Way to do it. Yep.
We'll see you next week on an all-new episode of The Payoff.